August the 3rd, 2021 is considered one of the darkest days in Apex's history. The release of a new season, which normally sparks such joy and excitement, ended up with nothing but anger, fear, and hate. With the new season came the usual issues, but what's even worse, with Season 10 came Seer. And one thing that's funny about Seer isn't necessarily that he was incredibly strong, some might even say overpowered, but many players in the community made comments about how he seemed really strong after he had been showcased prior to his release. The lead game designer at the time, DZK, assured the community that Seer was balanced and a skillful character. He said that the scan required precision, likening it to a sniper rifle. These comments defending Seer did calm down the overpowered allegations for at least a little bit, but despite the pre-patch comments, it soon became glaringly obvious that Seer was incredibly busted, much more than what he is today. Back around his release, Seer's passive was quite a lot stronger than it is today. Holding up your secondary fire button would bring up the scan up like usual, but it would scan constantly instead of waiting for the occasional heartbeat, meaning that you'd be able to pinpoint where exactly an enemy were at all times through walls. Unlike today, enemies would also not be alerted that they were scanned through the audio cue that we can hear today, and they had no idea whether an enemy team were in the know about their precise location or not. But it was safe to say that after a while, once it became really popular, they know. They always will know. Not only that, but the passive's field of view was incredibly forgiving, giving you an accurate information about your enemy's whereabouts by your reticle glowing orange, even if all you did was aiming in their general direction. Any enemies within a 90-degree angle, and keep in mind a standard field of view is about 90, so basically any enemies within your field of view that you weren't immediately aiming at would actually also be detected. And even though your reticle wouldn't light up the same way as if you aimed directly at them, it would instead have blue arrows hinting you towards their direction. Any enemies that you aimed at with your passive within 75 meters would light up your reticle in orange. And if there was an enemy between 75 to 115 meters, it would light up in blue to give you a hint that, yeah, they're not close enough, but you're aiming in the right direction. So that's a pretty loaded passive compared to the one we have today, and it's safe to say it was a permanent wall hack. It was ridiculous. It was impossible not to keep full track of what the enemies were doing at all times, and despite being broken, it was kind of nice to play Seer around this time because it made up for the terrible audio that was just as bad back then. And of course, his tactical wasn't much better. Just like the passive, it was a lot worse than it is today. The general gist of the focus attention was the same, but it was cranked up to 11. And yes, throwing out your tactical created a 8 meter wide and 75 meter long cone, which activated after 1.4 seconds instead of 1.6, meaning yeah, it was a little bit harder to dodge, but it was certainly not the actual problem with the focus of attention. Because the real problem was what happened once you were hit. If you somehow were the unfortunate soul to get blasted by Seer's tactical, just like today, it would cancel healing or channeling things such as respawn beacons, certain abilities, and of course revives, as well as revealing your position in the form of a diamond shape and your current health, you know, totally reasonable things. But it would also make a loud distracting noise, it would distract you by making your screen shake, it temporarily blinded you, like just made the screen white, it showed your entire highlight instead of just a diamond, and to make matters worse, it would deal 10 damage. It was really hard to dodge and would do damage through walls with no real counterplay. You can imagine things got really rough in the top tiers of competitive Apex, where there would be over 10 Seers in the final end zones. And finally, while not as aggressively strong compared to its current version, his ultimate exhibit was of course stronger as well. Using the exhibit would reveal all enemies within its range no matter whether they are moving or not when it was activated, after which moving around within the sphere would reveal them like the version that we have today. Activating the exhibit would mean that it would stay up for a total of 30 seconds and had honestly one of the shortest cooldowns that I've seen for an ultimate in a while. That being a tiny 90 seconds. For reference, Maggie's ultimate charge up time is 2 minutes long. Popping an exhibit is basically a guaranteed fight winner, and at a 90-second cooldown, you know that the Seer team was guaranteed to have it every single fight. How this legend made it past the balancing floor, we'll just never know. And the community was understandably in an uproar. What was made out to be a pretty balanced, solid legend turned out to be the most broken legend that we've seen in Apex's own history. and after dominating the game for a few weeks after his release, Respawn rolled out a, honestly, all things considered, pretty fast patch addressing the largest concerns, nerfing the passive where it would no longer give you hints if you were off target, and it now had a smaller field of view, so you'd have to actually aim right at your enemy. The tactical also saw some huge changes, with the detonation delay being raised to make it a little bit easier to dodge. It also lost the blinding effect, the screen shake, now made you walk slower when using it, and most importantly, because this was the biggest problem with it, it no longer did any damage on hit. The ultimate also saw a raise in its cooldown from 90 to 120 seconds, but nothing else really happened to it. And all things considered, this was a good nerf. It was a huge nerf to an insanely overpowered legend with the fundamental flaw of both being able to see enemies through walls and being able to take other legends' abilities away through the press of a button. And after seeing these huge patch notes, the entire community thought, Seer's done. He's vaulted. It's over. They thought he was too bad, and they decided they didn't want to play with him anymore. And after that, Seer's pick rate had dropped like a rock. He barely saw any play in casual matches, in ranked matches, or even professional tournaments, until much later when his Wattson had decided to go for the #1 Predator rank. And his choice of Seer, which would completely revitalize this absolutely broken legend, was actually all due to him playing him as a troll pick one day and realizing just how broken he is. And his Wattson had been grinding RP like mad, dominating the ladder alongside Keon and others and abusing Seer as much as he could. Despite the nerfs, the benefits of finding rats with the passive, being able to cancel enemies' resets and capitalize on their mistakes with the tactical, and having full vision and information on the enemy's whereabouts during an entire fight with his ultimate, allowed him to roll through ranked like no tomorrow. And it was no wonder that his Wattson decided to bring this playstyle with him into competitive Apex when he was picked up with Furia a few months after starting to see some success. Using their fight-based playstyle, Furia took the world by storm, dominating their first LAN in Rally together by rolling over any team that tried to stand in their way, and finishing in the second place of the tournament, but with the most points gained of every team. Only really losing because of the match point format, where you had to close out the series in a win to actually win the tournament. And suddenly, everyone was talking about Seer again. Maybe he's a lot stronger than people initially thought. Keep in mind, this is important, there had not been any changes to Seer between the initial huge nerf and the tournament. He had just been discarded too soon, and a few pros had realized the potential to abuse him through these fundamental issues with his abilities. And after that, Seer was everywhere. Every pro team started running him in scrimmages, in tournaments, just everywhere as much as they could. The playstyle that his Wattson and Furia brought to the scene continued to evolve and bleed into the rest of the game. And despite Seer dominating the Apex Legends high-tier ranked in tournaments, he's been one of the least picked legends in the game, currently sitting at a 2.5% pick rate overall. And to make matters worse, probably going in hand with his lack of interest from the general community, since his release in 2021, Seer has only been nerfed 4 times. And despite all of these nerfs, if you look at the top tier rank in competitive, he's being played just as much as he was from the start. Now, the latest nerf to his kit made him a lot harder to use, where they nerfed the passive so it only occasionally gives the enemy team's positions away every 2 seconds or so. The tactical no longer shows full scan targets for highlights, and the ultimate no longer reveals on activation. It has a shorter duration and a much longer cooldown, but he's still seeing just as much play as ever. He's just not being abused to nearly the same degree in any other level of play. I think people might just not want to play Seer in casual. But in competitive pro play and high-tier rank, Seer has most notably been rolling through high-tier lobbies with the Catalyst-Seer combination, or Catalyst-Bangalore or whatever, to abuse the wall hack, where Catalyst or Bangalore puts a wall up, Seer throws his ultimate down, and then follows it up by the team blasting the entire enemy team by shooting at the diamonds. And to be fair, at the time of writing this video, Seer's actually getting nerfed in regards to this combo, where his kit isn't supposed to be able to reveal enemies through Catalyst's wall anymore. And who knows, maybe this will curb his pick rate even in the top lobbies. But odds are the ability to cancel a reset at any time and any form of constant wall hack is just fundamentally too good to pass up on. And that is just how Seer breaks Apex Legends. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like, maybe subscribe, check out the video on the screen, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.